Hello everyone, I'm Frank and welcome to episode 61 of Learn How to Sudoku, where we take very easy variant Sudoku puzzles and we break them down in detail so that you can learn how to Sudoku. Today's very easy puzzle is called Entropy Columns by Evan, and here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means fill every row, column, and box with the digits 1 through 9 without repeat. Then we also have entropy columns, where every 3 consecutive cells along each column must contain a low digit, a middle digit, and a high digit. Okay, so that means along any column, if you take 3 digits that are in a row in that column, so it could be like say it could be these, one of them has to be low, one of them has to be medium, and one of them has to be high. But it could be in any order, so it doesn't actually have to be in this order, right? It could be something like, you could even have here high, low, and medium. It just has to be for any 3 digits in a column. You have to have one of each of these sets. And a low digit is 1, 2, or 3. A medium digit is 4, 5, or 6. And a high digit is 7, 8, or 9. And that's how it's divided up. And so all columns fulfill this rule set. So for every column, if you take 3 digits that are consecutive, 3 cells that are consecutive along a column, they must contain a low digit, a middle digit, and a high digit. Okay, and then we have killer cages. Digits in a cage must sum to the number in the top left corner of that cage. So, for example, these 3 digits must add up to 17. These 2 must add up to 7. These 2 must add up to 8. These 2 must add up to 14, etc., etc. So, as an example, we could have something along the lines of 5, 3, and 7, because those 3 digits add up to 17. And that's how killer cages work. And those are all the rules. If you'd like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now, I'm going to get started. So let's learn how to Sudoku. Okay, so there's a 3-cell cage here that adds up to 12. Well, for 3 consecutive cells along a column, you have to have a low, a middle, and a high digit. The only way you can have a low, middle, and high digit that adds up to 12 is if you take the minimum amount for each set. So you take the 1, you take the 4, and you take the 7, and that adds up to 12. Anything else would add up to something higher than 12, and therefore is not allowed. So this specifically has to be 1, 4, and 7 in some order. For the 14 cells, we know that the 2 cells adding up to 14 have to be essentially either 5, 9 or 6, 8. Well, that's a middle digit and a high digit in each case. That means for every other one, so for the next 3 cells then, so one of these is a middle digit and one of these is a high digit. For the next cell, it has to be a low digit, right? So this has to be low, and this has to be low. Similarly, this is a middle digit and a high digit. Therefore, this must be low, and this must be low. Well, that means this is middle and high, which means this has to be low. This is middle and high, which makes this a low. So we can do that for all the 14 cages. Because again, the only possibilities are 5, 9, or 6, 8, and that includes one middle and one high number. So the other one has to be a low for the next cell. So this is a low, this is a low, this is middle, high. These two have to be middle and high in some order, and this must be a low. This is middle or high. We're not sure which. Now for 5, you can only have 1, 4 adding up to 5 or 2, 3. But 2 and 3 would both be low digits, and therefore you would not have, you would have a set of 3 consecutive cells which would contain 2 low digits, which is not allowed. So this specifically has to be low and middle, and it has to be 1 and 4 specifically. So therefore, this must be a high digit, which means these 2 digits have to be low and middle, which makes this a high digit, which means these 2 digits are low and middle, and therefore this is a high digit. You also have 3 digits here, which add up to 18. And again, those are 3 consecutive digits, so they have to have a low, a middle, and a high digit. Well, if you take the low, middle, and high digits, if you take the maximum amount, that would be 3, 6, and 9. And that specifically adds up to 18. So if you took anything lower than those, you would have essentially, you would not fulfill this 18 cell requirement. So this must be 3, 6, and 9 here. So this is 3, 6, and 9. This then has to be 7 or 8 because it can't be a 9. Actually, this can't be, if this is 8, this would be 7, but that would be eliminated by the 1, 4, 7 triplet in the column. So this cannot be 8 because that would force 7 to be here. So therefore, this must be 7. This has to be a 7 here. In the 7 cages, you know you have specifically, it has to be 1, 6, 2, 5, or 3, 4 added together, which is, no matter what, a low and a middle. So these are low and middle. This is a low and a middle, which means there has to be a high in these cells, and there has to be a high in these cells. Well, that means there's a low middle in this one, so this is low middle, which forces this to be high, and there has to be a low middle here either. Also, this is also low middle, which forces this to be high, and this has to be low or middle. Well, we have low and a middle adding up to 8. So 1 and 7 is removed because 7 is high. It has to be 2, 6, or 3, 5. But we're not sure which. So this is 2, 6, or 3, 5. This has to be specifically 8 or 9. These are middle and high. These are middle and high. This 12 cage has to be a middle and a high, so it cannot be 3 and 9 because 3 is a middle, it's a low digit. So this has to be either 4, 8 or 5, 7. Well, this can't be 7, so this can't be 5 here. The remaining digits here have to be 2, 5, and 8. But we don't know the ordering here. Okay. So if you have a low digit here. Okay, so this one has to be low, middle, and high, and it adds up to 17 for 3 digits. So you could have 2, 6, and 9, because that adds up to 17. Or you could have 2, 6, and 9 works. 3, 6, 8 works. Or 3, 5, 9 works. Well, the problem is if you have 2, 6, 9, which is the only possibility that includes a 2, right? The problem is 6 and 9 would eliminate all possibilities for this cage, right? Because you could only have 5, 9 or 6, 8 be in this cage. And if you have 6 and 9 in this cage, that eliminates 5, 9, obviously, and then 6, 8. So this can never be 2, 6, 9. So this specifically has to be 3, 5, 9, or 3, 6, 8. Well, we know this is 5, 9, or 6, 8. So in the remaining cells, you cannot have a 5, 9, or 6, 8 because of the 5, 9, 6, 8 quadruple in this column. So the remaining cells have to be, this has to be 1 or 2, this is 1 or 2. And the remaining digits have to be 4 and 7. So this is 4 or 7, this is 4 or 7. Well, this 3 means this cannot be a 3-4 pair. So it's either 1, 6 or it's 2, 5. But if this is 2, 5 here, that eliminates all possibilities for this cell, because again, this has to be, or these cage, so it has to be 2, 6 or 3, 5. And again, if it's 2, 5, that eliminates 2, 6 and 3, 5, which is not possible for this cage. So this cannot be 2, 5, it has to be then 1, 6. This 1, 6 is a 1, 6 pair, which eliminates 1 and 6 from the rest of the column and from the rest of the box. So this cannot be 6 and 8 anymore, so therefore this must be 5, 9. This can't be 5 and 9. So it has to be 6, 8. This 1, 6 means this can't be 2, 6, so it has to be 3, 5. This 3, 5 pair eliminates possibilities for the 7 cell, or the 7 cage, right? The possibilities were 1, 6, 2, 5, and 3, 4. Well, 2, 5 is eliminated because the 5 has to be in one of these two cells, and the 3, 4 is eliminated because the 3 again has to be in one of those two cells. Therefore, this must be 1, 6 itself. And that 1, 6, 1, 6 pair now eliminates 1 and 6 from the rest of the box. So this can't be 1, which makes that a 2. This can't be 6, which makes that an 8. Therefore, this must be a 6. And now we know the pattern for this column. This has to be a high, and this has to be a middle. Well, to make sure that we have 3 in a row here, that one from every set of low, middle, and high, this is low and this is high, therefore this must be a middle, which forces this to be 4. Similarly, this has to be a high, because we have a low and a middle in the 2 of the other 3 sets, cells, so this must be a high, which makes this a 9. This has to be middle, because we already have a high and a low in the rest of the digits, or the rest of the cells in the 3 cells, so therefore this is 5. This becomes a 1. This has to be a high, because we have a middle and a low in the 2 cells directly above it, so this has to be high. Therefore, this is 7. This 1 means this can't be 1, so this must be a 4, which means this has to be a middle. This then has to be a low. This must be low. This must be middle. This must be low. And this must be middle. So this is 1. We don't know what the remaining digits here are, though. This is 7 or 9. This is 7 or 9. This is 8 or 9. This cannot be 6. This can't be 4, so therefore this can't be 8. Well, because of that, we know that this has to be a high digit, right? Because 7 and 8 are the only possibilities. Therefore, this must be a middle digit, because 4 and 5 are the only possibilities, which forces this to be a high. Therefore, this is a middle. This is a high, and this is a middle from the previous logic that we showed. This then has to be 8 or 9. This is 5 or 6. This could be 7, 8, or 9, and this could be 4, 5, or 6. We don't know. This is a 5, 6, 8, 9. So this is 5, 6, 8, or 9. This is 5, 6, 8, or 9. This can't be 8, so therefore this can't be 6, because if this were 6, it would only be with 8 here, and that's not possible. In this box, we don't have any more 5, 6, 8s, or 9s possible. So the remaining digits have to be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. So this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. But this can't be 4, and this can't be 4. This can't be 1, because in a... this can't be 4 or 7, because this is a low. This can't be 7, because this is a low. This can't be 1, because if it were a 1, what digit does it add up to with that would add up to 11? There is no digit, right, that adds up to 11 with 1. So this can't be 1. If this is 2, this would be 9, but this can't be 9 because of that 9, so this can't be 2 here. If this is 3, this has to be 8. And if this is 7, this would have to be 4. But the problem is, where's the 4 in this box? It has to be one of these two cells, because this is a low and this is a low, and this is eliminated. Well, either way, the 4 would have to be in this column. So this can never be a 4 because that's eliminated by one of these 4s. So this must be an 8, which forces this to be 3. So this is now high. This is a low, which means this can't be 3. This can't be 3. This must be then a middle, because we have 3 digits in a row. We have a high and a low already, so this must be middle. This is low and this is middle, which forces this to be high. So therefore, this is a 4, and this must be 7. And now we can fill out these. This has to be a middle because of these 3 cells. This must be a low because of these 3 cells. This must be a low. This is a middle, and this is a high. Okay. We have 3 highs already in row 6, which means, and this has to be a 9, and this has to be 7, because those are the only highs left. Well, this can no longer be 9, and this can no longer be 5, so this cannot be a high, which makes that a middle. This can't be a middle, which makes that a high. So similarly, this has to be a high, and this has to be a middle. This has to be a middle, and this has to be a high. This is a middle. Okay, what else do we have then? These can no longer be highs. So that means these can no longer be high. Okay, yeah, this has to be a 9, because there can't be 7 or 8. This is a 9, which forces this to be 8, which forces this to be 9. So this is also 7 or 8. This is 7 or 9 here. This is 8 or 9. This has to be an 8 here, and this must be a 7 here. This has to be 8 or 9, but it cannot be 8 because of that 8, so this must be a 9, which forces this to be 8. This cannot be 7 because of the 7-9 pair. Where is the 8 actually? 8 can't be here, 8 can't be here, 8 can't be here, so 8 must be here. So this is 8, which makes this a high, which means 3 away from it is another high, so this is high, which means 3 away from that is another high, so this is high. So therefore, this must be 9, which makes this a 3, which makes that a 6. So this is a low, this is a middle, not high, which forces this to be middle and this to be middle. This has to be low and low. Now we have 3 lows in row 1 and in row 4, which eliminates, and in row 7, obviously, because it always follows the same pattern. So therefore, the rest of the row cannot contain another low. So this cannot be low. This has to be middle, which means this can't be middle. This is low. Similarly, this has to be middle, and this has to be low. This has to be middle, and this has to be low. Remaining digits here are, this can be 1 or 2, 1, 2. So what can this be? It has to be a 3. So this is 3. This can't be 8 anymore. This can't be 8. So these two can't be 8 because this can't be 8 because of the 8 here. This can't be 8 because of the 7-8 pair already in the row. So where's the 8 in this box? It has to be here. So this is an 8, which forces this to be a high. That makes this a high and makes that a high. Therefore, this has to be the 7. This can no longer be 7. This has to be 9 because that's the only digit left, and therefore that's a high, and this must be a 7. Okay. What are the remaining digits? This can't be 4, so this must be 5 or 6. This can't be 6, so this must be 4, 5. Well, we have a 4, 5, 4, 5 pair in this box, which eliminates 4 and 5 from the rest of the box. So this must be not be 5, so it has to be 6, which forces this to be 5. So this is 5. Well, this can't be 5. 5 can't be here. 5 can't be any of these, so this must be a 5, which forces this to be 4. This cannot be 4, because one of these is a 4. Therefore, this must be a 6, because it can't be 5. Therefore, that makes this a 5. This can no longer be 5, so this must be a 3, which makes that a 5. Therefore, this must be a low, which means this has to be middle. This has to be a 1, this is a 6. We have 3, and then therefore, since this is a middle, this has to be a middle. And this can't be middle, this is a low. This can't be middle, so it's a low. This can't be low, so it's a middle. Which means we have 3 lows in rows 2, 5, and 8, which eliminates any other lows in those rows. So this must be middle, this must be middle, and this must be middle, which forces the rest to be low. So this is low, and this is low. This has to be a 2, this has to be a 5. This can't be 1 or 3, so this must be 2, which makes that a 3. That makes this 2, this has to be 1, this has to be 6. This 1 means this has to be a 4, this is 1. Okay. 1 cannot be here, or 3 cannot be here, so this is 2, which makes this 3. This forces this to be 1. And now we're just doing Sudoku. This has to be 2, which makes that a 1. This 2 makes that a 1, which makes that a 2. The 2 remaining has to be here. This has to be 1. This has to be 3. That's 3 in the corner. We celebrate because we know we're getting close to the end. This has to be a 4 because that's the only remaining digit. This has to be 5 because that's the only remaining digit in column 1. This 5 means this can't be a 5. So this is a 4, which forces this to be an 8 because to add up to 12. That 8 forces this to be 7. This 4 means this has to be 5. This 8 means this has to be 9, which means it must add up with 5 to add up to 14. Therefore, this becomes 8 and 6. This 9 means this can't be 9, so this is 7, which makes that a 9. And now we just look for remaining digits. This is now a 4. This has to be a 6. This is a 4. This has to be 6. This has to be 2. And this is a 3. And that's how you solve it. Oftentimes you'll have entropy is very similar to this, right? So oftentimes in entropy, usually you have entropy in entropic lines, which is not necessarily strictly limited to the column, right? But in that, you'll have often 3 cells which must contain a low, a middle, and a high digit. And you can always follow that pattern, right? Where every third digit has to be in the same set, right? This middle has to be the same set as this one, right? Which has to be the same set as the one that's 3 away. And that's how entropic lines actually usually work. It's just that in this setting, it was basically every column was essentially one long entropic line, if you think about it that way. Pretty cool, actually. I liked how the cages interacted with the entropy throughout the entropy throughout the columns. So that was pretty cool, actually. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Learn How to Sudoku, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.